dear Oakland. Hi, it's Graham. Today we are going to be talking about, hold on just a second, let me put this down a little bit. There, okay. We're going to be talking about, can we see it? There, this person. I don't think this is going to be easy for you to see. Hold on, let me turn off this light. There. Do you see her? There. That is your great-grandmother. No, great-great-grandmother. This is my mother. See? I look nothing like her. Anyway. And this, hold on. God, this light sucks. This is what she looked like when she graduated high school. When she was 17, 16, 17. There's your great-grandmother, great-great-grandmother, your great-great-aunt Leah, your great-great-uncle Bud, and your great-great-uncle David. That's all of them when they graduated from high school. So, I wish I had more pictures to share with you, but I really don't. Things were different back then. There are pictures, but I don't have them. I think there's some in the steamer trunk at Grandma's house. And when my mom died, we lost everybody's baby book and everything. So, it is what it is. But anyway, so I'm going to talk to you about this. My mom graduated from the same high school that her mother graduated from, and my two brothers graduated from, and my cousin Christy graduated from. I went to that school for a couple years, but I had to switch schools because somebody was trying to kill me. Boyfriend stuff. Girls are weird. Anyway, so, where was I going with this? Oh, so she was, of course, raised in Sebastopol and graduated from the high school in Sebastopol. And then she went down to San Francisco, where she and my dad were friends, and they used to go, of course, this was back in the days of Vietnam, so that was a big war. So a lot of people went and died, and it was really bad, and it wasn't popular at all. But anyway, my dad was a Navy sailor, and my mom was, I don't know what she was doing down there. I think they worked at a bank. I really have no idea. None. But anyway, so my mom and my dad were friends, and they used to hang out, and they used to go down to the YMCA and do that, and they had dances and stuff every weekend. So they knew each other through there. Apparently, New Year's Eve, they got drunk, and 9 months later, here I come. But in the meantime, my real dad had left because their ship was heading out to Vietnam. So he had no idea I even existed. So she married my stepdad. I had to have been while I was while she was still pregnant, because he is on my birth certificate as my father, even though he's not related to me. Okay, so, and then she had my sister Donna, and then somewhere after Donna was born, I had to leave because my stepdad was trying to kill me. So, I don't have early memories of being with my mom. I don't have any. I have some memories of going and visiting in the summer for, I guess, a week or so in San Francisco. And of course, Mom would come up with everybody and visit. And she would do that while my grandma would like go on vacation or something like that. I think one time she went to Oklahoma to go see my Uncle Bud. And, oh, I got a really funny story about that. Okay, so my mom is staying at the house. We all grew up in the same house. Anyway, my mom, she lived in San Francisco at the time, but she was up taking care of all of us. And, I decided I was going to teach my little sister how to ride a bicycle. So we went to the top of this hill. There was two hills. I lived at the bottom of two hills. A really, really steep hill and a less steep hill. So we went up to the top of the less, well, not even to the top, about halfway up the less steep hill. And I put Donna in front of me, and I was sitting on the bike rack in the back. And and we start going down the hill. And I'm like, okay, Donna, put on the brakes. And she's like, I don't know how. And I'm like, Donna, just pedal backwards. And she's like, I don't know how. I don't know what to do. We hit the curb because the street came straight down and teed into the curb. We hit that curb. Me and my sister flew up, and the bicycle flew up, and we all landed in the front yard. And the only thing I remember is my mom running out the door going, oh my God, they're dead. Oh, they're dead. So, yeah, so that was a lot of fun. And let me see, other things I know about her. While I was living with her for 6 months, I found out that her favorite song was, is it Sleazy by Alice in Chains? No? I think it's Sleazy by Alice in Chains from the Welcome to My Nightmare album. She used to play that on the record player as she would dance around the living room and sing. She was generally a happy person. Right before her death, she'd gotten her nursing degree, or her nursing assistant degree. Matter of fact, we stopped by to pick up her diploma as we were leaving Washington State. So yeah, she had just finished that program, and we were going to be living in Texas. My mom was not a perfect person. My mom allowed a lot of atrocities to happen to my brothers and my sister. And I was really lucky that I was taken away, because the things that he would tie my brothers to the bed and beat them. My sister to this very day sleeps with a butcher knife under her mattress. So, I mean, there's a lot of damage there. There's a lot of damage in our family. A lot. But anyway, I don't want to get too much into all of that. And let me see. I remember them all coming up. Mom would come up sometimes and just spend a week during the summer so I could play with my brothers and sisters and everything. And I remember one summer, there's this song called My Ding-a-Ling, and that's all we would sing all day long. All day long we'd run around going, my ding-a-ling, My ding-a-ling, I want to play with my ding-a-ling. Drove my grandma nuts. It was so much fun. And that's the same summer that we burned down the chicken coop smoking. We were like, I think I was 12 at the time, because I think Donna was only 10. She taught us how to smoke because she learned how to smoke in San Francisco. She was, all grown. And so, yeah, we burned down the chicken coop in the backyard smoking. And then another summer, we decided we were going to shoplift. So my cousin Tracy and my sister and I decided we had this whole system worked out. Of course, this was way back in the 70s, okay? It's not like today where everything's behind the counter and behind glass. The cigarettes would be in a rack behind the cashiers. So Tracy would come along. She would hit the pack of cigarettes with her elbow, and then she would kick it down the aisle. My sister would see it, and she would kick it further down the aisle. And then I had this big old purse, and I'd pick it up and put it in my purse. We were pretty successful at that for a while. And then they got busted. They went to go do it by themselves for some reason, and they got busted because it was a 3-man job, not a 2-man job. But anyway, so the cop brings Donna and Tracy to the house. And my grandma is just yelling at them up one side and down the other. And I'm just standing there like, nope, I don't know nothing about it. Tracy turns around, she goes, well, you ought to know about it, Patty. You helped us smoke them. My grandma turned around and went, what? So I was in deep doo-doo also. Let me see. Mom lived in these projects in San Francisco, and all I remember is a lot of pink cement. Cement stairs, cement walkway, everything was, and pigeons. There were tons of pigeons everywhere. And there was this one lady there that if a pigeon was hurt, you could bring it to her, and she would help it get healthy again. Her whole house was just all full of pigeons. So I remember that. I remember she lived in a place in San Francisco across the street from a park. And she had this big German Shepherd named Queenie. And when we went to the park, she would send Queenie with us. Well, Queenie was wonderful. I mean, there was nobody getting around us when Queenie was with us. There was also no getting too high on the swing, no going too fast on the roundabout, because she would come and she would drag your ass right off of it. If she thought that you were doing something dangerous, she would just come drag your ass right on off of it. So Queenie was a good dog. She was smart. And then I remember there was a time, and I don't know if I was living with my mom or if I was just visiting at the time, but we were down in San Francisco, and Tracy had taken a car and put it in reverse, and it had rolled across the street and into the garage across the street. Not into it, but just it hit the wall. And I remember that. I remember a station wagon and all of us kids being in blankets in the back of the station wagon at the drive-in movie. So the station wagon was like backed up to the screen, and we were just all laying back there watching the movie. I remember that. And I remember the time Tracy pulled the alarm on the electric pole. There in San Francisco, there's fire alarms that you can pull, and they're attached to the telephone poles every so often. or there used to be. And my cousin Tracy pulled one. And of course the fire and everybody came. And of course there was no fire. So then the fireman was gathering all of us kids around so that we would know, and telling us how important it was to never touch this unless there was a real fire or a real emergency. And that's exactly what it was for. We should never, ever, ever touch it unless there's a real emergency. And my cousin Tracy raises up her hand and she goes, well, if we're not supposed to touch it, why is it so close where we can reach it? I mean, you know, that made total sense to the rest of us. Let me see, what else can I tell you about Mom? Like I said, I know I was really struggling out of high school. I was really angry. I was really angry about being taken away and not being able to be around my brothers and sisters, and you know, just I didn't know. I did not know the other side of the story until I was a grown-ass woman and a grandma, and my sister and I talked about things finally. And so I was struggling. So she said, hey, you know, why don't you come on up? So I moved up to Tacoma, Washington. And we were there about 6 months. And then when Tom, my stepdad, decided we were going to be moving to Texas. He's from Texas. I have like one picture of him. I have no idea about that side of the family at all. None. Zero. Anyway, so he decided we were going to be moving. So we had 2 cars. And we had a old Delta 88, the green one. That's the one we were driving. And then we had a hitch pull thing that we were pulling in a car behind us. And the car behind us had a bunch of our stuff and the cats and the dog. And in the car there was my 2 brothers and me and Mom and Tom. And my sister Donna did not come with us because she was pregnant and she was going to stay with the father of her daughter, Cecil. So she stayed up there and they did really good together. They had a great life. So we were heading down through from Washington over to Idaho, and then from there through Colorado, and then we were going to go on down into Texas from there, I guess. Colorado, Kansas, maybe Nebraska, something. Anyway, I remember we went through this highway, this part of this highway, and it was just snow everywhere. And I remember that there was just all these dead deer just stacked up on the sides of the road, and where they'd just been hit by cars. And as far as you could see, there was just deer everywhere, like thousands and thousands of them. It was cool and weird and creepy all at once. So anyway, from there, we kept going. I remember stopping, and Mom was making sandwiches. And we had sandwiches, and then I was driving, and I know we were at a town, and I said, do you want to stop here, or do you want to go on to the next town? And she said, let's go on to the next town. And I don't know what happened. The next thing I remember, I was in the passenger seat. We were crashed into a wall. I was sick. I was throwing up really bad. And somebody stopped. There was no phones back then. Somebody stopped and they said, they were going to go get us help. So they took off and got help. And I remember the police and the ambulance and everything coming. And they took us kids, to the emergency room. And the next morning they sat us all down and said that Mom had died of carbon monoxide poisoning in the back seat of the car. And from what I understand, there was a hole punched into the trunk underneath where the exhaust was coming up in. So I never looked at it myself, so I don't really know. So we headed back to California. My Uncle Bud came. He was living in Kentucky. They put us up at a hotel, and my Uncle Bud came and picked us up, and our dad was supposed to be following, and we never heard from him again. Actually, we got a call from him about a month later saying that he had gotten lost, so he just went back up to Washington. Cashed in Mom's life insurance and whatever. That was just, it is what it is, right? And I've never heard from him since, and I really don't want to. And yeah, so that's the story with my mom. And I know it's not a great one, but I want you to understand one thing about her. She was dedicated to the wrong ass person, but she was dedicated. Out of all of us, we think Kenny is the only one that's actually by Tom. Okay, yeah. So, and of course she was married to Tom this whole time, but apparently Donna is not his, and Christopher wasn't his. We got to figure out if Donna and Christopher have the same dad. We don't know. We got to do like a blood test and stuff to find all that. But anyway, so, yeah. So we all wound up back in California, and Uncle Dave and Aunt Debbie took Kenny and Chris in, and I basically was there sometimes, but I took off and I was out on the streets doing drugs. I didn't give a shit about anybody or anything. Alright, the things you need to know about your great-great-grandma. She was funny. She had a great sense of humor. She could crack your neck for you if you needed it done. She could help you dye your hair. She knew a lot of things. She was smart. She was kind. She was dedicated to her family. And she always took good care of Kenny, who was not really... He had a lot of mental problems. And unfortunately, in the 60s and 70s, there was no help for people like that. But Mom, she took care of him. She knew how to keep everything managed, And she was a really great lady. She really was. I wish life had been different for her. I wish that she had been able to get away. I wish that she was still around. She would be so excited to meet you. And I wish I had answers to a lot of questions. but I don't. That's why I'm making these. So you will have answers, at least as many as I can give you. Okay, that's it for now. I love you. Love your parents. Love your grandparents. Take care.